Anthony Davis and the Lakers are one or two pieces away from winning a title after walloping the Celtics. Is he right? It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Let's go.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On Fridays, I'm your co-host, Jake Madison, at Nola Jake on Twitter. I got the boss, but more importantly, happy birthday, Nick Angstadt, host of Locked On Mavs here.
Thank you. I was going to say, David's not here, right? He's going to pop up out of nowhere.
He spent a couple days in New Orleans recently, actually, with like a back-to-back on a Thursday and on a Sunday. It was kind of fun to see him here. But happy birthday, Nick.
Thank you. Got a Mavs win on it. I'm okay with it.
That's it. Look, that's a good Thursday night here. Day. Now we're podcasting 9 games around the association. We are going to cover them all in 30 minutes or less because that's what we do here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So 9 games, Nick. Let's get right on into this one. Started with what I thought was the biggest surprise of the night, the Los Angeles Lakers beating the Boston Celtics 117-96. Let's get the quick Celtics perspective here from John, and then we got to talk about what Anthony Davis said before this game.
Is John worried?
Boston Celtics just didn't have it on their third game in 4 nights, and it showed. Only Tatum, Brown, and Porzingis scored in double figures for the Celtics as they just get waxed in LA. They had a chance in the third quarter where they got stops on 4 consecutive possessions, but Derek White turned it over. The Celtics got 2 offensive rebounds, but missed 3 3-pointers on a single possession. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown each missed 2 free throws. It was a 12-point game at that point, and they missed a chance in the third quarter to get it down to 5 or 6. And after that, the Lakers just went on a run, and they blew it open in the fourth quarter. Celtics couldn't hit a shot. They went cold again. Big problem for the Celtics this season. Ice cold shooting just dooms them, and they didn't have the energy to win in a different way. So it's a blowout loss to the Lakers, which always stings for Boston, but they have a chance to make this a 3-1 road trip in Dallas on Saturday. So lick the wounds and have a chance to make it a successful road trip in a couple of days.
Enjoy that one, Nick. An angry Boston Celtics team, right? Like have fun with that. Anthony Davis in this one, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. He was fantastic. He talked with Shams Charania of ESPN, which is still weird to say. Before this game, they dropped a couple of things. There were a couple quotes from this that I thought were really interesting. One, he said, we are 1 to 2 pieces away. I really feel like we are. I think most of us would have been like, yeah, okay, whatever, Lakers. Like, that's not going to be the case. But after this one, do you think he's a little bit right on that?
Oh, I think they're definitely 1 to 2 pieces away, like from winning a title. I agree with him on that.
A title, like not being conference finals, but like NBA finals.
The problem for them is the level that those pieces need to be, right? Like they're like a Jimmy Butler piece away, or like plus somebody else too. And Anthony Davis, he also in those comments said, we need another big man. We need another center. I'm better at the 4 and did this whole thing again. And it's like, man, that's part of the problem with this team is that he hasn't embraced that 5 spot, still doesn't think that he can be best at the 5. And it's hard to find bigs right now. I mean, the Mavs were maybe going to trade Daniel Gafford, but he was like the only guy out there. Now that's not going to happen for them. It's just not. I mean, the Suns were so desperate. They went out and got Nick Richards, and their fans are celebrating like they just got Joel Embiid. I mean, it's wild how valuable big men are right now. They're hard to find.
Look, it's if there's anyone, it kind of screams Jonas Valanciunas from the Washington Wizards to me is the move they're going to make. But if they need help defensively, and when Anthony Davis was saying it feels like we need another big, I'm better at the 4, he was referring to that 2020 team, the bubble team, where he played the 4, and you had Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee. But those are like defensive kind of big men that do that kind of dirty work. That is not Jonas Valanciunas. So if Jonas Valanciunas is one of the 1 to 2 pieces, it's going to make you better. It's going to raise your ceiling, going to raise your floor. But I struggle to see that being like the move that's like, oh yeah, they're a title contender now. Deeper in the playoffs, more scary? Yeah, absolutely. But I still think they're a little bit a ways from that. After the game, JJ Redick kind of doubled down on it too. And he said, quote, hopefully there's some belief reinforced here about what we can be, end quote, which Rob Pelinka, I think he's talking to you.
I think he's talking to Anthony Davis.
Really? Okay.
Belief in what we can be, or maybe. I mean, it could be a multifaceted, multi-audience quote. Like, right, the demographics for it can span the entire organization. But I don't know. Like, it feels like the players need to believe what they are. Do you know their wins since December 30th? Do you want to hear their wins?
Let's hear it.
Washington, Brooklyn, Miami without Jimmy Butler, Atlanta, and Portland. Those are their only, and now this Boston win. Like, this Boston win's a great win for them. They dominated in it, but they have not beat anybody, and they got beat by the Mavs without Luka or Kyrie recently. Like, they just have had a weird stretch.
You see that. You saw that with the Bucks earlier in the year too, where it looked like they maybe kind of stabilized after that bad start. And it's like, oh yeah, they've beaten absolutely nobody here. But we'll see where the Lakers go from here. They certainly seem like they're going to be one of the more active teams leading up to the NBA's trade deadline in less than 2 weeks away now. So let's move on to another game here that I thought just has a stat line that is freaking absurd. And that is the Denver Nuggets beating the Sacramento Kings 132-123. Nikola Jokic, 35 points, 22 rebounds, 17 assists. He was 2 of 3 from deep, including a buzzer-beating 3 at the end of the third quarter that he just casually chucked from like the full length of the court. He's having like an all-time season, it feels like. That's a ridiculous. That stat line's never been done before. That is just absurd.
This has nothing to do with the game, but can we go back to the full court shot with the one hand?
Sure.
I'm so sick of Jokic having no reaction to these amazing things that he does. Like, you got to care something. Like, there's some crazy competitor inside there somewhere. He throws a one-handed, basically full court heave, hits it at the end of the third quarter, turns around, his face has nothing. It's as if he was standing in front of Ko the face stealer from Avatar, where if you make a facial expression, he gets to steal your face. Like, it was insane. So I'm sick of it. Show something.
Nope, that's just not him.
He won't.
Like,
he won't.
He just did that. He's just so ridiculously good. 35, 22, 17. Are you freaking kidding me?
The thing that stands out to me, though, the 17 assists. You watch him make these passes. He's the best passer in the NBA, and he has a passing gravity that I think is different than a lot of players, and probably not many players have ever had this, where you are so highly aware of where Jokic can throw the ball and where he can't, that all of a sudden it freezes guys all over the place, that he hits so many cutters, he hits so many guys in transition, because guys are kind of like, you can't watch Jokic and the ball and your man sometimes at the same time. You know, they teach you in basketball camp when you're young to like position yourself so your eyes, your peripheral vision can see both the ball and your man, and sometimes it's impossible, and he hits guys like that every time.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. And the Nuggets are playing some really, really good basketball this year. They're now 8-2, 9-2, or something like that in their last 10, 11 games. They look pretty scary here. You've got a little bit of a theory on what's going on here, though. Yeah,
one of the things I like about what they've done recently, Gordon played 17 minutes in this game. He's in kind of a minutes restriction because of this calf injury. He's only been playing like 20 minutes, but he's been coming off the bench. And he's even told Michael Malone, their coach, that I would come off the bench even when I'm 100% and healthy, which is a really cool thing for a championship team, to have a guy as important as Aaron Gordon, who is their third most important player on their way to that title a couple years ago, for him to do that and to like just be willing to come off the bench and do whatever it takes, basically. That's allowed Westbrook to start. That Westbrook, Jokic, Murray, Christian Brown, Michael Porter Jr. lineup has been really good. It's a plus 12 net rating.
Yeah, no, look, it's kind of unlocked it, right? Since Westbrook's been starting, that's where you see the winning happening, and you see some just immediate chemistry between him and Jokic, and they look like a completely different team right now. And I know Locked On Nuggets is going to have a whole lot more on this game. That's probably going to be my second listen today after a stat line like that. So before we hit the break here, Miami Heat losing to the Milwaukee Bucks 125-96. Bucks had some travel trouble here leaving New Orleans. Let's kick it over to Locked On Bucks for more.
The Milwaukee Bucks hopped off a plane at 5 o'clock, headed right to the arena, and proceeded to hand the Miami Heat a 29-point beatdown. Didn't matter that the Bucks hadn't touched the basketball or played a game since Sunday, and that they were snowed in New Orleans from Monday night until they left for Milwaukee today on Thursday. Slow start as expected, but they came out and they started to roll. Giannis was the steadying force early in the game, and then Dame woke up in the second, leading on to the end of the game, finishing with a near triple-double since they didn't credit the last board to him, gave it to Brook Lopez. But a really strong victory for the Bucks, their fifth straight win now. They get ready to head out on a West Coast trip, so they don't get much rest after this game, even though they were snowed in New Orleans. On the road, heading off to face the Clippers on Saturday night. So hopefully the Bucks can keep their win streak going.
Can we talk about how wild that phrase is, snowed in New Orleans?
Yeah, look, I was 10 inches here, man. I've learned a lot about myself these past couple days. Also learned don't wear Ugg slippers going outside in your backyard to see it because you will slip and fall down the stairs like this guy did. Anyway, like a long cut on my leg because of that. Not my smartest move that I've ever done. I was excited, man. It doesn't do that. Khalil Ware for the Miami Heat, probably the lone bright spot here. 22 points, 10 rebounds from the rookie as they mixed up their starting lineup here. So coming up next here on Locked On NBA Game Night, Nick's going to tell us how the Mavs got a big win over OKC. That's coming up here next. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 to get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. They've been running ads a long time on Locked On. I've never heard of a deal as good as this one. So if you want to make those conference championship games, look, Saints aren't in there. That's how I'm going to make the NFL a little bit more interesting this weekend. Also, maybe taking the Memphis Grizzlies at -11 over New Orleans in this game on Friday night. You can do it because the FanDuel app is super easy to navigate, and there's a variety of bets to keep every game exciting. And when you win, you get paid instantly, no waiting around. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make the playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And thank you for making it Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night, your first listen today and every day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And now go check out the Locked On newsletter for your favorite team over at LockedOnDaily.com. Just click on the logo of your favorite team, put in your email. It's going to be in your inbox. It's not just team coverage, though. It's league-wide coverage, too. We got a really great selection of writers to keep you up on the latest things happening around the association.
Selection of writers, it's us.
No, we've got the national writers. We got Katie in there. We got a couple others, too.
Fair.
We got Josh Lloyd, the GOAT for fantasy basketball, and your favorite host writing their newsletter as well. There you go, Nick. All right, Nick, it's your turn here. In my notes to Nick when we were planning this show out, this one just says, "Go, Nick, go." And that is the Dallas Mavericks beating the Oklahoma City Thunder 121-115. What happened in this one?
I'll start with this. The Oklahoma City Thunder have 8 losses on the season. 3 of them are to the Dallas Mavericks. They have lost 3 times to the Mavericks and 5 times to everyone else in the NBA combined. It's one of these things where the Dallas Mavericks have this confidence against the Thunder. It doesn't matter who's playing. Yes, the Thunder were without Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, Isaiah Joe. Big losses for them. But the Mavericks were without half their team. Luka Doncic out, Derek Lively out, Najee Marshall, Klay Thompson, Jaden Hardy, Dwight Powell, Dante Exum still. Like, they just have half their guys out, basically. They're going through season of hell. Not close to what the Pelicans are going through, Jake, but
it is in there, man. Like, the injuries are brutal.
It's tough right now. And what they got was they had a massive game from PJ Washington, the god of Thunder. 22 points, 19 boards, 3 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks in the game. When the Thunder don't have bigs, like when they don't have their 2 big guys, PJ Washington is one of the biggest guys on the court. And he just flies in and skies for a bunch of rebounds. And they are really massive rebounds. They end possessions. They don't let the Thunder get extra possessions and all that. And he can also take it on the other end. He's been really working this season on his confidence, driving the lane, finishing, doing some extra stuff. He finished with 16 shots, the second most on the Mavericks. Kyrie had 17. And you wouldn't think that about PJ Washington going into the season, that he would lead them in shots or be close to leading them in shot attempts. And he has been in this stretch because he's really stepped up in a big way. Also got a bounce back from Spencer Dinwiddie. Massive game from him, 28 points. And you're just going to get one of those games every time. Last game, he was really bad. This game, he was really good. Like, that's just the Spencer Dinwiddie experience. On the Thunder side of it, they don't have one more offensive guy to go to. And they've really struggled this season. As much as a team that only has 8 losses can struggle so far this season.
It's a relative term, of course.
But I think they've struggled not having Chet healthy to be able to kind of explore where his offense can go. Because in the playoffs last year, that's the guy that I thought could give them something else, give them another offensive engine, giving them something else to go to on offense. When SGA, like in the third quarter, the Mavericks were really trying to take the ball out of his hands, and they did. He was only 1 of 6 in that quarter. And Jalen Williams, the wing, had 33 points, had a good game, but they needed somebody else to get them some offense and get them going in this one. And maybe Chet could be that, but they just haven't seen that this season.
Yeah, look, and I think also without that, it's taxing, at least defensively, for some of these other guys trying to play up a position too, like the Jalen Williams and things like that. So I think that's a little bit of a factor when it comes to it as well. Like J-Dub is basically guarding centers a lot of the time. And he's not the size of a center, and that can limit it. He had 33 points in this game, but he was also a minus 11 on the night. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 31 for him here. Can we talk about what happened with Lu Dort in this one? I feel like you want to talk about what happened with Lu Dort in this game.
There's a thing that Thunder fans are mad that Mavs fans and Timberwolves fans are the only fan bases that complain about Lu Dort. But then when he does things like this in the game tonight, where
I don't think it's just those two Pelicans fans, he's the reason Brandon Ingram's been out for almost 50
There's another
days.
One. Join the collective.
Join the club here.
Join it. He had a moment where he tried to go over a screen and he stepped over and kicked Kyrie. Then he had another moment where he's just doing some crazy stuff and fell down, and Kyrie got called for a foul for it. And then the one that got him kicked out, he was coming around a Gafford screen and just took his whole hand and just whacked him right in the nuggets. And just it was unnecessary. It was excessive. Got a flagrant 2. Got kicked out of the game. It made sense. And our host of Locked On Thunder and Locked On NBA Game Night, Rylan Stiles, told me this, and he should say it on his own show if he hasn't. He's the James Harden of defense. He's got all these little tricks and things that he gets away with to make him better on that end. And honestly, that's a great way to explain it.
That's actually like a very good line. All right, I'm going to throw 2 things at you here. Real or fake, because we like to do that on Fridays here. If Lu Dort was on your team, you would love him.
Would I love him?
Love him, yeah, love. Like defend him, be excited about him.
Listen, sometimes we don't love all the things. Like, we don't always love the things that they do. So I think I would love him as a player. He's shooting 40% from 3. He's doing other things. He is a good defender. But I don't think I would love some of these antics because it just becomes too much and it's not basketball. I hate when players try to play the game within the game. Luka does it all the time where I'm like, just put your head down and play the game. Don't try to play the game within the game all the time.
That's fair. I always think it's like one of those things you see these players and they annoy you because they do stuff to your team. And then if they were on your team, you'd be like, this is the best dude ever. And he's not doing nothing dirty. It's like when Tony Brothers goes to do a review and like hams it up for a moment in the camera. When it's against your team or you're like waiting to figure out what the call is, it drives you freaking insane. And then when he's doing it in a game that you don't care about, you're like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. And he should do this all the time. All right, let's keep moving on around the league here. We're going to go a little bit fast. The Toronto Raptors beating the Atlanta Hawks 122-119. Toronto doesn't want to win, right? Or do they? Let's go over to Sean Woodley of Locked On Raptors.
The Raptors are rolling. Sean Woodley here from Locked On Raptors. Quick thoughts on the Toronto Raptors taking down the Atlanta Hawks in a frantic 122-119 win in Atlanta. The Raptors' 4th win in 5 games. Pretty impressive stuff for a team that spent most of December and the start of January not winning any games at all. And look, the first blush response may be, oh no, they're ruining the tank. And hey, maybe that's true. Maybe they're going to have the 6th best lottery odds as opposed to the 3rd best lottery odds. I do not care, and neither should Raptors fans if the Raptors are going to be playing games like that where Scotty Barnes, who put up 25 points, including 11 fourth-quarter points and some big-time clutch shot making down the stretch, if Grady Dick is going to be having excellent two-way performances with his 15 3-and-3 that he put up in this one, if the developmental stuff is going to happen for the guys that matter, that the Raptors currently employ, and they can win some games along the way, that's one of them good problems. There'll be plenty of time down the stretch to engineer losses. The Raptors are likely going to trade some important veterans between now and the deadline in a couple weeks. The losing will take care of itself. For now, the winning, it's not so bad.
It's bad. It's bad for the lottery chances. It's bad not because of the odds can be similar. You can fall further down if teams behind you jump up. That's the bad part with that. Yeah. Scotty Barnes with 25 points in this one. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
That's the voice and that's the temperament of a Locked On daily host that hosts the show about a team every day that is tired of talking about losses.
Yeah, oh, totally. Look, man, we've all been there at a certain period of time. For the Atlanta Hawks, the big story for them is Jalen Johnson, who's been phenomenal for them this year, left with a shoulder injury. He was game to game coming into this one, day to day coming into this one with a right shoulder injury, left with a left shoulder injury that didn't look good. He did not come back. They immediately ruled him out. They'll have more over at Locked On Hawks, how that impacts their season and what the injury might be. So one more game this bit here, and that is the Portland Trailblazers beating the Orlando Magic. Bit of an upset there. Let's kick it over to Locked On Magic for what happened.
This is Philip Rossman-Reich, the host of Locked On Magic here at the Kia Center as the Orlando Magic dropped their fifth straight game, 101-79 to the Portland Trailblazers. And really that final score says it all. It's not about the defense, not necessarily. It's not about having your stars back even. With Franz Wagner returning and scoring 20 points in his first game back, it is plain and simple about the Magic's inability to create offense. It's about the Magic's inability to find that offensive rhythm and cohesion. It's about the inability to score. And it's a simple thing, and it's become an endemic problem. It's become an issue of confidence, it feels like. An issue of, I don't trust this shot. I don't trust this pass. I don't trust this player's going to be there. I'm getting stuck, and no one's maybe helping me get out, or you're just making the wrong read and making the wrong pass. It is a major issue for this Magic team. Look, Orlando's been able to win and win successfully without great shooting all season. They've been one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the league all year, and that was eventually going to bite them and cause maybe a moment like this. But they're not doing everything they need to do, and it's affecting every part of their game. Unfortunately, in this league, you do have to score. You can't just hold opponents to crazy low offensive numbers. You've got to be able to score, and the Magic just can't right now.
So let's pause this one and talk about it coming up next, because I actually want to get into this one a little bit more here and the offensive issues that the Orlando Magic are having. Then we'll wrap up the final games on the night. That's coming up here next on Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by Talkspace. Therapy is a game changer. It can help you manage stress, improve sleep, learn to communicate more effectively, but finding the right therapist and fitting sessions into a busy schedule can be a challenge, and that's where Talkspace comes in. Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, makes getting the help you need easy, accessible, and affordable. I'm a big proponent of therapy. There's no manual for life. When things get tough, maybe you need to work through a problem. You need to get some good, third-party advice telling you what you need to hear. Maybe you just need to get things off your chest. And therapy can help with all of that. And with Talkspace, it's simple. Signing up is simple. You can match with a licensed therapist who fits your needs, usually within 24 hours, and it's convenient. You might not have time to go drive to a doctor's office, find a therapist in the first place. Here, you could just do it all from the comfort of your home and even message your therapist between appointments. And Talkspace is covered by many insurance plans. And for most insured members, there's a $0 copay, and it's never been easier to prioritize your mental health. So as a listener of Locked On NBA, you're going to get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA and enter promo code SPACE80 to match with a licensed therapist today. Go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA and enter promo code SPACE80 to get $80 off your first month and show your support for the show. That's Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA, promo code SPACE80. And thank you for making a Locked On NBA Game Night every game, every night in under 30 minutes. Your first listen today and every day. We are here Monday to Monday, 7 days a week, breaking down every single game in the association this season. And now for your second listen, go check out your favorite Locked On NBA show. I said, I'm going to go listen to Locked On Nuggets because I want to hear about that Jokic stat line. Maybe you want to learn a little bit more about what's going on with the Lakers and the moves they can do. There's Locked On Lakers. There's one for every single favorite team. Also, go get the scouting report on your favorite team's opponents coming up as well. So we just played the clip from Phil from the Locked On Magic podcast, losing to the Portland Trailblazers 101-79 here. 5-game losing streak for them. I did not see this coming. They did a really good job of winning games when everyone was out injured, and then everyone comes back and you think oh, cool, they're going to be even better now. And it just feels like they forgot how to play offense together.
Well, they didn't have Jalen Suggs. They didn't have Gogo back yet. I'll give them some credit, but they did get Franz back. This is the first time that Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero had played together since October 30th. It's been a long time.
But there's been some teams that have been just killed with injuries this year.
They've only played 6 games together, those two guys. And Paolo had an awful shooting night in this one. He finished 1 of 14, just absolutely awful. They scored 79 points. That's 6 less points than like their lowest this season. They're also 1 in 12 when they score 94 points and under this season. So Phil's right. It's an offensive problem, but I don't think they're going to get a Paolo game like this ever again.
No, they're not going to be this bad. They also had 19 turnovers in this one, and that's just going to kill any rhythm and flow that you have. I think it's just like the classic example of these guys come back. They need to generate some on-court chemistry. They're going to go through a rough patch. And probably by the end of the regular season, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, that's the Orlando Magic team that we saw early in the year where you're like, oh, could they be a top 4 seed? Could they really threaten in the playoffs a little bit? Are they kind of taking the leap? That, I think, will go a long way. It's just going to maybe be a rough stretch during this time as they try and kind of figure some of that out, it feels like.
The big question for them, again, is going to be, can they score in big moments, right?
They need another shooter, it feels like, right? Like they need another 3-point shooter on this team or a guy that can go get his own. I don't know. Maybe they're interested in a Brandon Ingram or CJ McCollum, but probably not here.
They've been trying. What, didn't they go get Jet Howard in the draft? They tried to do that. They brought KCP in. They've been trying.
They've been trying to do some things, I think. You are correct on that one. All right, so let's start to wrap up the night here, and let's go over to – I just lost all of my notes here, but let's go over to Paris for the San Antonio Spurs crushing the Indiana Pacers. Let's go over to Tony East of Locked On Pacers.
Ay. Pacers not cut out for France. Apparently, their first game in Paris, a disaster. Smoked by the Spurs, a 30-point loss, 140-110. Tony East here with Locked On Pacers. Pacers defense, pathetic. It's been the biggest thing guiding their turnaround from when they were 10-15 last month. Talked about it endlessly on Locked On Pacers. In this one, the Spurs got everything. 45 third-quarter points for the Spurs, the most they've had in a quarter this season. No rim attacker from the Spurs had any trouble getting to the rim. Obviously, Wembanyama's gravity made some things easier. Spurs' ball movement was great, but the Pacers couldn't guard a potted plant in this game. They looked dreadful on that end. Their offense faltered from the mid-second to late in the third quarter. Nothing working for the Pacers, their second biggest loss of the season, and they've got to play that same team in France again in 2 days. They need to bounce back, particularly on defense. We'll have much more on Locked On Pacers.
Look, it's not fair that you're playing Victor Wembanyama in Paris, right? Like in France, like he's probably got like extra superpowers in that. It was a 140-110 final here. Wembanyama, by the way, with where did his stats just go?
30 points, 11 boards, 6 assists, 5 blocks. 4 of his blocks came in that third quarter where they went on that big run.
They're going to be so good in the future. Not this year, because they still are, but in the future, that Spurs team is going to be, it feels like, unstoppable.
The one thing is Chris Paul will age out, right? I'm going to do the LeBron tweet where he's this old. It can't this can't last much longer, right? But and then they'll have to replace him, but we'll see.
I'm surprised, as I kick my table here, I'm surprised they actually haven't traded him, because I wonder if they're like, oh, you're helping us win too many games and we don't want this, but I guess they're trying to put like the right time in. For a little bit, then you win too many games. I don't think they were expected to be this competitive this season, and maybe that's not what they want because they've looked like they're actively trying to tank. But they're not 20-22. That's pretty good actually for them, where they were a year ago.
It's a weird thing when you have a superstar that's that good, because you get too good too quick, where then you can't get another piece. The Mavericks ran into that same thing where they trade for Porzingis, and then all right, your war chest of assets is gone. Like that's it. That's your team, and yeah.
No, it's smart to kind of do what they're doing and trying to be bad this year. All right, the Golden State Warriors beat the Chicago Bulls 131-106, kind of riding a late second half surge there to beat a struggling Bulls team. Let's go over to Locked On Warriors for more on this one.
The best thing that we could possibly see from the Warriors right now, with Draymond Green hurt, with Jonathan Kuminga hurt, is young players stepping up and showing that they can play consistently at the NBA level. One of those guys that we really wanted to see was Quentin Post. We knew he was going to get some opportunities, the second-round pick from Boston College, but we thought some spot minutes here and there. We didn't think he'd be the second leading scorer in a game. 6 games into his career, he was awesome. 7 of 12 from the floor, 5 of 10 from 3. This is a legit 7-footer. Legit 7-footer that steps out, stretches the floor, knocks down 5 3-pointers for a career-high 20 points. DeSantos, a career-high 19 off the bench, once again brought the energy. He was awesome. As a whole, the bench unit was incredible. 83 of the Golden State Warriors, 131 points as they take down the Chicago Bulls 131-106 to improve to 22-22 on the season. Steph Curry led the way with 21. Andrew Wiggins had 17. The team as a whole had 37 assists. They had 25 made three-pointers. Just a thing of beauty from Golden State today. Sure, it's Chicago, but there's a lot of signs of light when you see young players stepping up and taking advantage of their opportunities. It was Podziemski, it was Post, it was Santos. Really good stuff from them today. We have a full breakdown of it on the Locked On Warriors postgame show. Check us out on the page.
Can we talk about how the NBA is crazy? The Warriors bench scored more than the whole Magic team tonight.
Yeah, it's absurd. They had 5 guys in double figures. Also, he said that video in at like midnight Central Time. And how is the California sun looking that good on him in that video here?
That'll make you jealous right there.
This doesn't set over there or something like that. Yeah, no, the bench was ridiculous, right? Santos 19 points, Moses Moody 16, Dennis Schroeder 11, Podziemski 10, and then Post with 20. That's an absurd number. Two timelines are back, baby.
Quinn Post, the 7-footer with 5 out of 10 threes tonight. A lot of Warriors fans have been calling for Vooch, like Nikola Vucevic in a trade, and they may have Vooch at home.
Maybe. For the Chicago Bulls, Zach LaVine, 24 points on the night. He still remains underrated in my opinion. And then the late game was a blowout until it wasn't, but then ended up being one, and that's the Los Angeles Clippers beating the Washington Wizards 110-93. Let's go over to Locked On Wizards for this one.
James Harden drops a triple-double as the Los Angeles Clippers defeat the Washington Wizards 110-93. Now, James Harden again did drop a triple-double tonight, 17 points, 12 rebounds, 13 assists, and the Clippers were up by as much as 27 points tonight. But the Washington Wizards did fight back in the second half. But how did they lose this game? Well, simple, not playing 4 quarters. Most of the time, when you're down at the half and clawing back, it's hard to win, especially when you have a clear talent gap. The Washington Wizards are young and unproven, and the Clippers are, a playoff hopeful team in the Western Conference. So, like I said, whenever you're playing like against a team like the Clippers, playing down at the half, you're setting yourself up for failure, and that's how the Wizards lost tonight. So they'll try to rebound on Saturday at Phoenix against the Suns. Hail to the Wizards, and peace.
Can we talk about the try to rebound? I don't think that's what they're doing.
No, they're quite happy that they look competitive for a little bit in this one and then lost. Like, they're thrilled to be losing this game, I think, here. Norm Powell, by the way, not an all-star starter, but 22 points in this one. For the Wizards, Jordan Poole, 24 points. Yeah, that's all I got in this one.
I literally did go to tankathon.com. That was not a joke. Wizards 4.5 games up on the Jazz for the worst team in the NBA right now.
They've lost 12 straight games after this one. So that's after they didn't win a game in November either, and they're now on 12 straight. Like, this team is not particularly good here.
What was that promo code for the therapy? Should we send it to Brandon Scott?
Space 80 at Talkspace.com, by the way. All right, that's going to do it for Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. On Fridays, I'm your co-host, Jake Madison, at Nola Jake on Twitter, and the host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast. You can tell them who you are, Nick.
Yeah, man, I'm Nick Angstadt, host of Locked On Mavericks. We've got great stuff going there all the time, every post game and 5 days a week.
All right, thank you all for listening. More games tomorrow. We're covering all here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. See y'all next time.